All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
And greetings all, it's our big Friday show. I am excited, I really am. Kim is here.
Kim, how are you?
Yeah. Yesterday, power problems, all the rest. Today, no sweat, man. We're on final approach. Albert on board. What up, Albert?
Albert, thank you.
Yeah.
Morning.
Yeah, Albert. How is life at your other job, your other secret job?
The secret job is busy, but I'm here.
Yeah. All right, good.
And it's Friday, so happy
I need
Friday,
you locked in. The key front and center item for you on Fridays is what? Friday Fabulous Florida, isn't it?
Our darling
God.
Friday Fabulous
Oh
Florida.
my God.
Albert, thank you.
Yeah.
Triple There's a mention of demons. There's a number of animal stories that include a shark and an alligator.
It sounds
And,
promising. I love it.
looking
All
good.
right.
And an impersonator. So
Fully curated by Albert is Friday Fabulous Florida, bottom of the hour. John Daly should be by. We will be at full strength. Avila and Shure on politics in the next hour. Much to do. Let's get going. You can do it now. Tell all your friends that the Mark Thompson Show is on the air. And in so doing, you can share it on Facebook or wherever you do your social media, whatever town square you find yourself in, where you think you might have a friendly audience, have them check out the show. You can share a link. It's a good way for us to grow the audience. And of course, we appreciate a thumbs up and all the ways that you support the show. Let's do it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I hate to start with sad news, but I think it is sad San Francisco news that
It is.
Tony Bennett has passed away. There he is, 96 years old. Wow. He was from New York City, but it's because of I Left My Heart in San Francisco that he's associated with the city. And this is a guy who I believe, Albert, you will check this. I think he has 20 Grammys.
Oh, wow. That
Google it.
Yeah, check it out. I think that's right. Adored by fans and held in the highest regard by musicians. I'm just reading from this obit. From Frank Sinatra to Lady Gaga, Bennett was a consummate performer. Consummate is a ding word.
And Tony is correct. So, Mark, if you want to ding yourself for that as well.
Thank you, everybody. I'll take my prize in the Grammy guessing world. I'll take that prize off the air. Yeah. That's a lot of Grammys. No. I think the key, though, is that he, through the decades, was able to be a through line. And he, you don't get 20 Grammys in one decade typically. And I guess that's the underlying point. So again, Lady Gaga, Sinatra, Elton John, they all celebrated him, performed with him. He became the oldest living artist to reach number one on Billboard's charts when he teamed up with Lady Gaga on the Standards Only recording, Cheek to Cheek it was called. It broke the record that he had set only 3 years earlier when he'd reached number one with his album Duets 2. That featured pairings with Amy Winehouse, Mariah Carey, Carrie Underwood, Faith Hill, and other far younger singers. What's that, Kim?
I was just going to say they were so cute together. If you saw that special, here they are together. She's just so, I guess he was at the point when they did the special where he wasn't remembering things. It was hard for him to remember. But the minute, music does something to your brain. And the minute she would kick in with one of his songs, he would just get this smile on his face. And they were so sweet together. It's that special brought tears to my eyes in more than one moment.
Yeah, the reality and stories of his later years came out. I think I heard Lady Gaga talking about the fact that he, I think it was Lady Gaga. Someone was talking about the fact that, he was being really hobbled by Alzheimer's, diagnosed in 2016, I believe. Maybe check that. I think that's right. I don't know. Google it.
Google it.
All right. I'm doubling up on my my Tony Bennett recollections and going for, I believe 2016 he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Anyway, more to the point, the story goes that he was struggling a bit with the with the things that Alzheimer's does. It messes with your ability to just operate and be yourself. But when the music started in the studio, he just came to life, and it was as though he wasn't being diminished at all by this illness. So quite the performer that way. But as you say, the Lady Gaga thing and the Mariah Carey, and just incredible. With the help of I Left My Heart in San Francisco, the song that won him his first Grammy and became his signature song from the time it was released in 1962, Bennett kept performing and didn't change. In the 1990s, in a miracle of savvy marketing, masterminded by his son and manager, Danny, Bennett became the elder darling of the MTV set. He appeared as an animated special guest on The Simpsons, and though he never actually had been plugged in the first place, he made a much heralded appearance on MTV Unplugged, the resulting album earning him a Grammy for Album of the Year in 1994. That's a play on words. In other words, he's always been sort of unplugged, right, as a vocalist. I mentioned Cheek to Cheek and tremendous popularity. I mean, it's remarkable when you think about 96 years old. Bob Hope helped discover him and gave him his stage name, Tony Bennett. He knew Count Basie and Judy Garland and performed with Pearl Bailey. I mean, these are, this is really, these people who are long gone. And Tony Bennett, still relevant into his 90s. A remarkable career. I was just looking, I think his parents, his dad was like either a grocer, his mom was a seamstress, something like that, like very like a New York humble beginnings, San Franciscans forever treated the singer as a native son. Bennett had a statue erected outside the Fairmont Hotel on Nob Hill as a 90th birthday present. There he is with all those Grammys and Emmys. He fell on tough times in the 1970s, fell behind on his taxes, had to make a deal with the IRS. He also developed a serious cocaine habit. Uh-oh. He recounted that in his autobiography. He wrote that one night he, quote, overindulged and quickly realized I was in trouble. He was rushed to the hospital, he said. He remembered something his manager had said about comedian Lenny Bruce, who died of heroin overdosing in 1966. The man sinned against his talent, is what Bennett wrote. That hit home, he said. I realized I was throwing it all away, and I became determined to clean up my act. And if he ever thought about stepping away from live performances, he said his audiences always managed to talk him out of it. Even after his family confided to AARP in 2021 that Bennett had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease 5 years earlier. There you go, 2016. He continued to perform and recorded a new album, Love for Sale, in 2021 with Gaga. She apparently wept in the studio when he delivered a flawless solo. That was his final album.
Was he connected to the Rat Pack and all the gangsters mobbed up, kind of Frank Sinatra, all those guys?
Not really, no.
Okay.
I mean, he was, I think, a contemporary of theirs, and but I don't believe so. I mean, I think he was a Vegas performer also. You know, those guys were down there, but I didn't. I mean, and Sinatra, was involved with Tony Bennett. I think they collaborated together, or they were in touch anyway. I don't know that there was a collaboration, but no, I don't think he was not a Rat Packer. I'm looking at his early life. He returned to the U.S., used the GI Bill to study acting at New York City's American Theater Wing. He received guidance there that would serve him through his professional life. A teacher advised him not to try to imitate Sinatra or any of his favorite singers, but instead try to sound like his favorite musicians. Bennett chose pianist Art Tatum for his virtuosity and tenor saxophonist Stan Getz for his honeyed sound. Virtuosity is a dang word. I put those two together and I got something that came out different, Bennett said. Sticking with the name Joe Barry, Bennett started haunting the nightclubs, looking for work as a singer. After years of rattling around, Bennett acquired a manager who got him bookings and helped polish his presentation, made a few appearances on Arthur Godfrey's Talent Scouts. There's that's the statue in front of the Fairmont. And then at the Village Inn in Greenwich Village, where Pearl Bailey was asked to be a headliner, Bailey said she would agree only if that Joe Barry guy was on the bill with her. One night while at the Village Inn, Bob Hope came in to catch Bennett's act, invited him to the Paramount to sing with his troupe. But Hope didn't like the name Joe Barry. And he thought Anthony Benedetto, which of course is his real name, was too long for a marquee. "We'll call you Tony Bennett," Bob Hope said. Bennett got a recording contract in 1950 with Columbia, where the label's artist and repertoire person, Mitch Miller, had him record Because of You. It went to number one. Many hits followed. And, of course, we all know I Left My Heart in San Francisco. And by the time rock and roll came along, they say here, Bennett had already secured his place in American music. His career took a dip because of the popularity of rock, but he was able to still make a living. And then, of course, I Left My Heart in San Francisco was brought to him by longtime pianist Ralph Sharon, who'd been given the song by two struggling songwriters, George Corey Jr. and Douglas Cross, hoping that this guy, the pianist, would pass it along to Bennett. Stuck it in his shirt drawer, the pianist did, forgot about it. Then he was packing on a tour with Bennett. He spotted it. He'd forgotten all about it, gave it to Tony Bennett, thinking the fans in San Francisco might like it. And there you go. Well, he was also such a nice man and seemed like on the right side of a lot of stuff. So,
Don't
Tony
you have
Bennett.
A story about him?
I do have a story. I met Tony Bennett. I'll tell my story quickly here. If everybody smashes the like button, let me tell you the story of playing tennis with Tony Bennett.
The Mark Thompson Show.
With the passing of Tony Bennett, I'm reminded of his importance to the city of San Francisco, an adopted city for him. He's from New York, of course. And he would come through San Francisco and he'd play the Fairmont Hotel. As mentioned, they erected a statue to Tony Bennett in 1990 outside the hotel. And he'd play is it the Venetian Room there? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he played the Venetian Room at the Fairmont Hotel. And I was on Cron then at the NBC station in San Francisco at the time. And I did live remotes from various places. And so we did a live remote from the Venetian, and Tony Bennett was there, and we talked, on the air and et cetera, and plugged his gig. There he is with a tennis racket, similar to the racket that will become relevant in this story in another minute or so. I thought because I knew that he was a tennis enthusiast, I'd throw out the fact, because in San Francisco it's chilly a lot of the time. There's an indoor facility at the time called San Francisco Tennis Club, and I was a member. And I said, hey, you want to hit tennis balls anytime? While you're here, I'm a member of San Francisco Tennis Club. It'd be fun to have you come down there. And he said, oh, Mark, that would be great. I'd love to. When can we do that? I thought, wait, wow, really? Okay. And he said, how about tomorrow? Or something like that. It was like quick, maybe like 2 days out. And but it was quick. I thought, wow, this is really cool. This is really going to happen. Tony Bennett and I are going to play tennis. So I said, terrific. We make the date. And of course, I go down to the club and I go, you guys, you're not going to believe this. Tony Bennett's in town and he's going to come down here and he's going to play tennis. And they go, oh, we know. He comes here, every time, frequently when he's in town, and he never plays. He just wants to hit. And I said, I don't care whether we play. I just want to hit tennis balls with Tony Bennett. You guys are jaded. What's wrong? They're all into the tennis. I'm not into the tennis. I mean, the fact that Tony Bennett's coming down. So the day rolls around 2 days later, and Tony Bennett gets off the elevator, and he looks just like he does in that picture. He's got a big, like an oversized head type racket, and he looks great, the legend. And we go down to the court and we start hitting. And because he is Tony Bennett, a crowd starts to gather a little bit and sort of just to watch us hit. And maybe also because I'm kind of a big deal at the time in San Francisco, too.
Do you know who I am?
Yeah,
I'm kind of a big deal.
It's not all because of Tony Bennett. Maybe I have a little dash of my magic is all I'm trying to say. So we're hitting. And then as we're picking the tennis balls up, after maybe 10 minutes, Tony Bennett says to me, do you want to play? And I thought, wow, that's not what the scouting report suggests that you would want to do, but yeah, sure. So we play, we spin the racket for serve. And I think I served first, and I blasted serves through because my first serve was just like it was a routine. And I said, this is horrible. You're being an a-hole here. You should just, he's older than you are.
Take it easy on the old fella,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. So I, then I spun in a serve.
I mean, we can't all be the uber athlete Mark Thompson is on the court.
Well, I had mad tennis skills at the time.
Do you know who I am?
I'm just saying.
I'm kind of a big deal.
I did. So I spun a serve in, and he crushes it down the line. Okay, like, hey, bud, you wanted to spin it in? I'm going to beat you. So I thought, oh, this is kind of weird. So then I'm serving harder again, and I win that first game. Then he serves, and his serve wasn't particularly powerful, and then I start crushing his serve, and I said to myself, Mark, this looks bad now again. I won that game. Then I won my next service game. It was like 3-love, and I'm like, dude, you invite Tony Bennett down to your club. He's older than you are, and now you're beating him at 3-love. This is bad. And now the crowd has really gathered. It's a much bigger crowd.
Sorry.
So you're not only is this a bad idea just out of basic common courtesy, but there are a bunch of other people who are witnessing what a jerk you're being around. Even though I wasn't trying to be a jerk, it was just coming out that way. So then I really take the pace off all my shots. And what happens? He starts crushing everything, and he's crushing. And now it's 3-all. And then I'm going, now this is bad, dude, because now you're losing to this old guy. And that is, you're this vibrant young dude, and I get that you were trying to be courteous, but now he's beginning to, and now he starts scorching the ball. I don't know if he was getting warmed up or what the story, but I mean, this older man was blasting the ball down the line. And I'm like, all right, now I've got to start. Now I'm trying to find this place somewhere between playing really hard and somewhere between playing really soft where we can have, good rallies, but I can still win.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I could. And now the crowd, and they're clapping when he hits a winner and stuff. It was unbelievable. It was a nightmare because he just, honestly, I couldn't find my way, and he ends up beating me in, in a public humiliation. Tony Bennett beats me.
Aw.
And
That's okay. If you got to get beat by somebody, being beat by Tony Bennett.
Which one you use, Mark Thompson?
Exactly. It was wild. It was wild. But that he was a good guy. And then subsequently, again, when he came to town, he called me again to play, and he came with his girlfriend at the time. They wanted to play, so we had some additional interaction. But pretty special though to have had that chance. So glad I worked out. Rest in peace at 96, the great Tony Bennett.
The Mark Thompson Show.
In the next hour, Avila and Shure come by for some analysis of the week in politics, all kinds of things going on, both politically and culturally. Ron Desantis in Florida is going after Bud Light. You know, Bud Light already took it a bit for, it was a transgender spokesperson that they used. Isn't that what happened, Kim?
Yeah. And it was just it was one of those social influencer things. It was like, it wasn't even like a national commercial, I don't think. It was like a social media thing. And all of a sudden, bam. And it shouldn't matter anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's odd because you wouldn't have thought that backlash would have really taken any sort of hold, but it did. Yeah. The deal with Ron DeSantis is he wants to out right-wing all the other right-wingers as he runs for Republican. He runs for top of ticket on the Republican side. This is his latest move, and then we'll move on. But essentially, what he's doing is having the state go after the company from a financial standpoint, right? In other words, he wants to make sure that the funds of Floridians and the state's funds don't end up benefiting the bottom line of Bud Light's parent company. Isn't that essentially it?
Yeah, and I think he's saying that because Bud Light or the parent company had this, brief arrangement with a trans spokesperson, they somehow have defrauded their shareholders. And so because of that, they're not worthy of being a company to invest in.
Yeah, and I don't know defrauded is a big word, but they certainly, and defrauded, now it's a big word. I don't think it's a ding word, but it's a big word when it comes to representing, what the company's doing. I don't think anything was done, in a fraudulent way. But in any case, Florida's pension funds and all of these, the money of Floridians that is directed to Bud Light's parent company, as it's directed to a lot of different companies, he's saying we should get that back. And, it's their stock price has already been affected by this. They went from, I believe, $66 a share to $58 a share.
He wrote this letter, DeSantis, to the state pension fund manager, and it says that AB InBev, which is the parent company of Bud Light, breached legal duties owed to its shareholders when it decided to associate with radical social ideologies. That's why. He said all options are on the table as the state reviews the impact of AB Bev's recent financial downturn, though it's unclear what legal recourse the state might have to challenge a multinational corporation's business decisions. So he says he wants to prudently manage the funds of Florida's hardworking law enforcement officers, teachers, firefighters, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
So anyway, that's his, it's a headline grabbing way to, really, he took on Disney. Now he's taking on, AB Bev, as you say, it's the Bud Light parent company. Yeah. So DeSantis continues to rock on saying, hold my beer. Let me show you how this is done.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Carly Russell, the woman who was calling in that report that there was a toddler on the interstate, and then she disappears. Her stuff is all there when the cops arrived. Turns out she was missing for 2 days. She searched for Amber Alerts and the movie Taken on her phone before her disappearance. She also made searches related to bus tickets in the hours before she went missing. Apparently, the law enforcement people there are sort of saying, look, we've checked this out, and essentially, when you put all the pieces of this puzzle together, it suggested this was a fraud. We want to talk in facts, and I do think it's highly, highly unusual to the day that someone gets kidnapped at several 7 or 8 hours before that they're searching the internet, Googling the movie Taken about an abduction. I find that very, very strange, said the law enforcement chief. Nicholas Durzis is his name. She got out of her vehicle, came out of the trees, mumbled that she's saying that she claimed that there was a guy who was checking on a baby, claimed that a man picked her up, then she screamed. She had a whole story, but it looks like it's all BS, right?
Yeah.
There is no toxicology report to reflect drugs or anything, but look, these Google searches, they're going to do you in, people. So if you're planning something, watch your searches, because they're going to check those first. Yeah, exactly. Google it. Google it. Right.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I want to get to Friday Fabulous Florida, and I've got so much to do today, Kim. I can't believe it.
It's a big day.
Yeah. Yes or no?
There's never been anything like this.
Are driverless cars in San Francisco, solving the parking problems so far based on studies? And will they solve the parking problems? It's a huge parking problem in San Francisco.
No, they won't. No.
They won't, is correct. Autonomous vehicles, those who've advocated for them long have claimed that the technology will have a transformative effect on American cities. And parking is one of the ways that cities could be transformed. But a recent study funded by autonomous vehicle company Waymo found that driverless cars are unlikely to significantly impact the city's parking demand unless they're deployed widespread across the Bay Area. So, yeah. That's your update on that. Florida awaits, and it does include gators. Thank you for hitting the like button, giving us a thumbs up. It always helps.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Also appreciate the ways you support the show. We're crowd-funded, so without you, we go away, to be perfectly honest. We cannot make payroll without all of you helping us in the different ways you do. And there is William. Is it William D. Michelli? William D. Michelli?
Oh, yeah.
Big shout out.
Shout out.
Yeah, big shout out to you for a quick 20 to get the day started. Come on. Big shout out.
Big shout out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry. I mean, the Tony Bennett tennis story choked me up a little bit, but I want to thank you, William, and thanks to all of you. Hey, by the way, if you're looking for a way to become an ongoing supporter of the show, you can do it through our Patreon and PayPal pages. Those are two great ways to support us on an ongoing basis. You can find click-throughs to both at themarkthompsonshow.com. Again, you have to put The Mark Thompson Show. If you don't put the in there, you end up at the splash page for a Christian ventriloquist. TheMarkThompsonShow.com, though, is where you want to be. Click Patreon or PayPal, and you can become one of the members of our community that's been so very supportive, and we so very much appreciate it. So, Friday Fabulous Florida next after Kim's News. Mark Thompson Show.
I've told you it's never easy being in this business.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. Let us begin with President Biden because, there's a couple stories regarding the president today. First, he's considering ways to prevent another debt limit standoff. The White House announced that President Biden directed aides to explore all legal and policy options to make the risk of a U.S. default a thing of the past. The president signed a bipartisan deal to suspend the debt ceiling last month after tense negotiations with House Republicans narrowly avoiding a U.S. default. The FBI, the report detailing accusations that President Biden and his son Hunter were paid millions in bribes by a Ukrainian energy firm, is now public. Republican Senator Chuck Grassley released the report yesterday, which details an FBI source's conversation with executives from Burisma Holdings. The allegations have been at the center of House Republicans' investigations into alleged influence peddling by the Biden family. The Biden administration receiving commitments from AI companies to commit to responsible development of that technology. The White House announcing today 7 top AI companies have committed to managing the risks posed by technology. The commitments from Amazon, Anthropic, Google, Inflection, Meta, Microsoft, and OpenAI include a pledge to develop watermarking mechanisms to help users determine when content is generated by AI. From the current president to the former president. Yes, grand jury investigating former President Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election taking the day off. That, according to ABC News, the grand jury is deciding whether Trump should be indicted over his efforts to overturn the presidential election and if that contributed to the 2021 Capitol riot.
Wow.
When they raided Mar-a-Lago, God didn't like that.
Yeah, all right.
No,
God will watch it also with the rest of us.
Shakira's in a bit of trouble. She's facing more legal issues in Spain. She's now the subject of another tax fraud probe, while she is already set to go to trial later this year over accusations that she failed to pay $15 million in taxes from 2012 to 2014.
She just sent that picture instead of the $15 million?
I think that would have worked, right?
That picture, if I can just say this, that's pretty hot, man. That's a pretty hot look.
Oh, doing it for you today? All right.
I think that's a great look. That's Shakira?
That's Shakira.
I fully approve.
Yeah, I'm glad you do. Yeah. Her legal team told Entertainment Weekly she defends having always acted in accordance with the law and under the advice of the best tax experts, but she's busted for tax fraud. And
$15 million. How much money do you have to make to have just not paid? And this isn't her whole tax bill, just part of her tax bill. $15 million. Wow. That's impressive. Maybe check that, Albert. How much Shakira, what's her net worth and how much she, makes on tour or something?
Google it.
You know how to put all those. I'd be curious.
Lastly, wow, the outfits at the Barbie premiere in London, amazing. It is the Barbenheimer weekend, drawing crowds at the box office. At least that's the hope, that with both Barbie and Oppenheimer coming out the same weekend, that movie theaters will finally get a little bump up. Barbie and Oppenheimer combined to bring in nearly $33 million from preview screenings alone. Greta Gerwig's Barbie earned $22.3 million. Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, $10.5 million. The simultaneous release of the two most anticipated movies of the summer has inspired thousands of moviegoers to create their own double feature.
They've had their own viral marketing that's just taken place around this Barbie movie. Pretty incredible. I mean, it's this is at a time when no actors really are supposed to be repping. So even that picture probably was that the Barbie premiere
in London?
You said it was in London, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that those actors are out front because they are not supposed to, by SAG-AFTRA restrictions, they're not supposed to be doing any promotion for the film. Interesting.
Maybe if it's in a different country, it doesn't count? I don't know.
No, I don't. I think it's still, no, I think it does count. Okay, well, anyway, There you
I
go.
don't know.
Yeah.
And yeah, the Mark Thompson Show is crowdfunded, which means we rely on you. You can find more information at themarkthompsonshow.com, themarkthompsonshow.com, the Patreon link, the PayPal link, all there ready for you. And of course, Super Chat is live. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson.
I've come from regular stock.
I just want to find 11,780.
Did you really just do that? ABC knows that I feel like this. I've told them. It had nothing to do with them.
May the Spirit guide you in wisdom and grace.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
It was great. I loved it.
60% of the time, it works every time.
Can you let him finish, sir?
What up, everybody? It is Friday. Friday brings to us for this segment our former producer, fabulous producer John Daly. Hey, how about it for John Daly, everybody?
Fabulous producer John Daly.
Yeah, what is going on with you, fabulous producer John Daly?
Oh, I've had a busy week.
Yeah, you had. What kind of things go on in your busy?
I have a busy week.
Did you take any of the driverless, vehicles around San Francisco in the last week or so?
Yes, and I haven't been parking around the city. So I don't think a handful of cars is going to have a huge impact on parking.
No, you'd need to drop
Cruise has like 12 vehicles.
Yeah, you'd need to drop a real serious number. But I guess the study suggests that it's going to have to be a real serious number to have an impact. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of cars, tens of thousands of cars.
I will remind you that if you want to see a 60-second trip that John Daly and I actually took in and what do you call it?
Autonomous vehicle?
What is it called? Autonomous, right?
Autonomous vehicle.
Yeah, autonomous vehicle. Trying to use the technical term. You can find it there on our channel, the Mark Thompson Show channel. We have these shorts, and one of the shorts is Daly and myself taking this
fabulous producer John Daly
autonomous vehicle ride.
Leaving the Red Jack Saloon.
Leaving the Red Jack.
That's the night you guys went out drinking.
Yeah, we went out to the Red Jack, and of course the Red Jack people who we love, and we loved hanging out there. But the people we, went to see, Lori and Mark, they were not up. It was like 10:30 at night, and the bartender said, "Oh yeah, they're probably asleep upstairs." So, but we had a lot of fun taking some time and hanging out there, and also going in the autonomous vehicle. I'd never been in one, so. But anyway, it's great to have you in the mix. We've got everybody here. We are at full strength with Albert on board, with Daly, with Kim, myself. And on Fridays, my friends, we like to feature news from the state that never disappoints. I mean, sure, it can be sad, it can be serious, it can also be weird and bizarre and edgy and awful.
Fentanyl-laced.
Yes, fentanyl-laced grotesqueness. It's all there. This is Friday Fabulous Florida.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from our weirdest state.
You are not real. You are demons, said this Florida man to underage kids before allegedly exposing himself.
Oh, he was looking for a loophole.
What? Yeah. A 58-year-old Boca guy arrested Friday night last week after uttering a puzzling phrase to several juveniles, then flashing his genitals at the group.
How old were the kids?
Well,
does it matter?
Less, yeah, right. Yeah, 37 would still be too young.
They were 13.
There's never been anything like this.
Yeah. They were less than 16 years old because that was the charge. They charge him with lewd and lascivious behavior with a victim less than 16 years old. So I don't have the actual ages. There were 4 of these kids. They were walking on Northeast 14th Court. You know where that is, John?
Right,
approaching
by Whole Foods.
Yeah, North Federal Highway. And he was hiding in the bushes wearing a black shirt with his shorts pulled down and underwear.
Oh, God.
As they were walking by.
They've got it down, right? They have a system.
Yeah, it's, I guess.
You have to hide in the bushes, you know.
According to the
yourself.
arrest report, the underage kids became frightened. They ran to a KFC restaurant nearby. And they arrest this guy who is reportedly, I don't see any details about him. Sorry, I was trying to learn something about who the guy was, like what he did for a living or whatever.
His address is listed at large by the Palm Beach County Jail. So I think he's I would say vagrant, probably.
I see. Yeah.
How dare you, Kim?
Well, if your address is at large.
He lives in a bush. Leave him alone.
I think, come on. But as bushes go, it was one of the nicer ones. I never understood that kink where, you flash your I don't quite get that flashing thing. I just never understood it. Like, really? That's your kink?
It's like a captive audience control thing. It's like the naked guys walking around San Francisco. Nobody wants to see that.
Yeah. But sometimes I think that's just, being so out of it that you're the naked guy walking around San Francisco.
A lot of these guys are sober. Like, I've talked to some of them. Yeah, they're just exhibitionists.
They're nudists, are they? Okay.
Yeah, it's like they get off on controlling.
There's a
like
difference
the forced
though,
audience.
between being an exhibitionist and, showing someone yourself on purpose, like looking at that person and opening your jacket. Like, it's almost like control. Like, you don't have control over what you're seeing, but I do.
That's what I say. That's what I say.
Yeah, that's what John was just mentioning. You're right. So we'll turn you two PhDs over on this one, and you can work on it. A Florida man is bitten by a 7.5-foot alligator while snorkeling in water that was designated for swimming, but also had the designation "Use caution." It was North Florida. But I mean, again, it was deemed safe for swimming this week, but they did have the sign posted "Use caution."
That's like Florida standards, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't quite know.
It's safe.
Right. The man whose name hasn't been released to the public, he was bit in the Alexander Springs recreation area is it Ocala National Forest?
Ocala.
You know where that is, John?
Yeah.
And he was reportedly helped by workers at this place where it's a fully permitted area for outdoor recreation. The staff responded, quote, quickly and appropriately, clearing guests from the swim area. And
this is not their first time.
Yeah.
They're like, go, go, go.
Yeah. Right. When I said it was safe, I guess
I misspoke.
Right. Right. Yeah,
My bad. I'm sorry.
Okay. Wow, the alligator looks happy. The captured alligator was considered a nuisance alligator, meaning the animal does pose a threat to people, pets, or property, and was removed by a trapper. And usually they euthanize the creature.
But now we know who was putting up the signs.
We got a Florida man is going to give vasectomies to peacocks. Yeah, it's
and this is their new hoax.
Yeah,
that sounds like a kink.
Yeah, that is a specialty for certain. Shielded by county law for decades, peacocks in Pinecrest, Florida, are no longer off limits to trappers. And Don Harris is the Florida man who's eager to get his hands on the birds. They lined up Harris to perform hundreds of rapid pre-fowl vasectomies after the village secured an exemption this week from this strict rule against trapping peacocks. There is a rule against it in Miami-Dade County. Trappers hired by the village will respond to resident requests for peafowl sterilizations. It's peafowl, I guess. The peafowl are peacocks, correct?
Yeah.
The upside of peacocks is they're beautiful. Everybody knows that, he said. The downside is they can do damage to property. They will see their reflection in a car and attack the car. They roost on fences, on tops of cars, and on roofs, and they do damage there. And they're vocal. They're very vocal. Wow.
That's not fake.
Okay.
That's real.
All right.
Yeah.
They budgeted $7,500 a month for what's being described as a pilot program that could expand to other municipalities that are also facing resident gripes about peacock noise, pecking damage, bird waste on sidewalks, cars, and roofs. You thought San Francisco had problems.
Yeah, we don't have bird waste.
Not yet. Not yet. Wait until Ron Desantis starts exporting the peacocks with the immigrants to San Francisco. A Florida woman arrested twice in one day for theft. And my hat's off. You know, you got to do what you love, everybody. Am I right?
Yeah.
A woman from Florida arrested twice. This just happened on Sunday. She attempted to steal a vehicle in Paducah, Kentucky. She's from Florida. After getting out of jail for the stealing of that vehicle, she stole a separate vehicle from outside the public library downtown.
So she's just trying to get home.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
It's work-ish. He was loading groceries, this dude was, in the back of his Dodge pickup truck. You may be wondering, how you steal vehicles. It wouldn't seem too easy.
Google it.
Yeah, but she's a 59-year-old, and she saw this dude loading groceries into the back of his Dodge pickup truck while his wife was sitting in the passenger seat.
Ooh.
And, bick, bang, carry the 5, and before you know it, she's off to the races in their truck.
I am the captain now.
Yeah, she was arrested on then another charge of stealing a vehicle. So bravo, though, for knocking down, that's what this country used to be. Quality, hard work before all the slackers showed up. You know who I'm talking about.
Albert, thank you.
Wait a minute. What?
Wow. That was
two theft jobs in one day. I have mad respect for that. That's the American way.
Kind of respectable. I mean, I guess she's got a nice top. She's not doesn't have crazy eyes. I'm surprised at her behavior.
She kidnaps old ladies.
Yeah.
She's classy, bro.
Kim evaluates people the same way my Courtney evaluates people, based on what they're wearing.
Ooh, I love that top.
Look at it. Oh my God, she had a cute top. I I loved her. Oh my God, did you see that top? She was wearing police. I thought, oh my God, she's a terrific lady. Please, those shoes. All right, fine. I guess we have different things that we respond to.
It's perfect for summer.
Yeah. This from Smyrna Beach, Florida. A 48-year-old Florida man was bitten on his back by a shark while he was sitting in the water off New Smyrna Beach.
Ah.
Yeah. The Lake Worth man, he's a man from Lake Worth, referred to as the Lake Worth man, suffered minor injuries and refused to be taken to a hospital. So it couldn't have been that bad.
I'm the Lake Worth man.
I'm the Lake Worth man. The Lake Worth man coming. You'll never be able to swim away from the Lake Worth man. A day prior to this, a 21-year-old DeLand man was bitten by a shark and seriously injured while surfing off in New Smyrna Beach. So this is the same beach. This guy's just sitting by the beach, and he is bitten. Taken to a hospital, non-life-threatening injuries, but it just speaks to the danger, nonetheless. A Florida man catches a burglar sleeping in the front yard. This is in Jackson County, Florida. According to cops in Jackson County, deputies got a call from this dude saying that he found a man sleeping in a vehicle in his front yard. The guy attempted to make contact with the suspect, and the suspect, if you want to call him that, the guy sleeping in the front yard, started frantically reaching around inside the vehicle. He had armed himself with a weapon for his protection. When deputies arrived, they secured the suspect and the victim's weapon. Sounds like kind of a chaotic scene.
What can you tell us?
What can you tell us about the scene?
It's a bit chaotic, Larry. There's a guy who's fallen asleep in his vehicle on someone else's lawn.
What can you tell us about the scene?
Deputies immediately saw burglary tools and a mask in plain view.
Wow.
He has the burglary kit right there in plain view when the cops show up. And it had big letters titled burglary kit. I mean, really, no, it didn't. I made it up. A search of the vehicle revealed a crowbar, lockpick, gloves, masks, knives, brass knuckles, prescription medication.
If you get them in order.
And drug paraphernalia.
If you get it in order, you get extra points.
Wow, that's a lot to get in order. Crowbar, lockpick, gloves, masks, knives, brass knuckles, prescription medication, and drug paraphernalia.
He was packed, ready to go.
He really was. You got to, again, give him some credit for, packing for all circumstances.
Right.
And then I guess the packing took a lot out of him. He fell asleep and just couldn't find a parking spot, so he parked on somebody's lawn. I'm guessing he might have gotten into the prescription medication on that one,
I found somebody in my truck one night at 4 a.m. coming back.
Is that right?
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
What? How did that happen? What happened there?
So I was visiting my parents, and I left my Chevy S10 pickup truck. This is when I was in my 20s, I think, out front of their house. And I came back, and I saw, as I'm driving a different vehicle past my truck, I see legs hanging out of the cab of the vehicle.
No!
And my first thought was, oh my God, my dad had a stroke.
Sure.
Yeah, like moving my truck or something like that. And then I go inside and I take inventory of my parents. And then I called 911 because I was like, it's 4 a.m. in the morning. I'm in the suburbs. This guy might have a gun. Who knows?
Sure.
And the officer came, and he had been stealing like those torch lights, that the ones that people have in their front yard, like
right,
from the
of
entire
course.
neighborhood.
Yeah.
He's gone like a door-to-door light thief. And, he had the bags of lights.
That's such a weak caper. You know what I mean? That's just like
he's like,
really?
Are these? I don't know. Are these battery operated, solar powered?
Yeah. I hope you didn't plan that, because that is a weak caper. Wow, that's wild, though. Well, you'll appreciate this. I mean, the great thing about Albert curating is that he does sort of move things thematically through the segment.
Well, he's an artist, Mark.
He is. Albert is an artist. And
Albert, thank you. Artist.
This is our big finish, and it involves, again, stealing and stealing a car. But in this case, it's much bigger than that. Florida woman steals fire truck, everybody, and impersonates a firefighter. Come on. Very strong.
Idea, but it just might work.
Yes. It's a very strong move.
That takes range.
It does, exactly. You're not only involved in theft, you're involved in a kind of theater, which is passing yourself off as the firefighter. So, mad respect already for this Florida woman. She is accused of stealing a fire truck and impersonating a firefighter. It's the Suwannee County Sheriff's Office that reports Belinda Dolores Waugh, 44, took off with a fire truck.
They always have three names, Mark. Always.
Yeah,
Florida,
when
they always have. Yep.
Because that's when they book you, they take your full name. And so when the journalists report it, they write down the full name. So you're right. When you see the three names, you know there's been an arrest. When the fire chief visited the station to respond to a call, he discovered the truck was gone. Miss Belinda Dolores Wall, who spent the night at the Wellborn Volunteer Fire Department station because she was, of course, pretending to be an actual firefighter.
She's like, I'm here for my Airbnb.
Yeah. She did call the station. And, like, if you stole the truck, why would you call the station? Because she ran out of gas, everybody, and she needed help from the actual firefighters.
What he's got going here is a situation.
Yeah. Deputies tracked down the truck, and she said she was a volunteer firefighter. Of course,
she didn't sign up.
Yeah, she was not on the official roster and was not authorized to use a fire truck. And she was booked on charges of grand theft, my favorite theft, grand theft, and fraud impersonating a firefighter. And with that, we wrap the group of stories today. But we do need to, as you know, it's a piece of boilerplate business, pick a favorite. And it is like picking between children. We love them all, but must choose one.
Drug-addled children.
And so I'll remind you of what you've just heard. There's a lot of Florida coming at you. You might have lost track. Albert, are you also running a poll, or did you not have time to do that today? Albert? No? Albert's in and out?
Albert, thank you.
All right. If there's a poll, you can vote in the poll. The man who said that as he exposed himself, you are not real, you are demons. He exposed himself to youngsters, underage kids, and he was arrested. There he is in all his glory. That was just the appetizer in today's Florida segment. We moved right into a 7.5-foot alligator that chomped a swimmer in water that was designated for swimming. Then the Florida man who is giving vasectomies to peacocks because the peacocks have become a nuisance to a population of humans in Florida. A Florida woman arrested twice in one day for theft. 2 cars in one day. One person. Impressive. But maybe not our favorite. A Florida man bitten on the back by the shark as he sat there on New Smyrna Beach. A Florida man catching the burglar sleeping in his front yard. And the Florida woman accused of impersonating a firefighter after stealing the fire truck and running out of gas with it. Boy, that is a brutal booking photo. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube.
Very artsy.
Yeah.
Is that a filter? That looks like a filter.
Yeah, it is.
Or an AI photo.
Yeah. Even with the IG filter, it's pretty brutal. You know.
She's like, I want to put this on Instagram. Can I?
Yeah, right. Can I have a copy of that booking photo?
Can you send me a copy of that, please?
We will need to pick a favorite, and we will start with you, fabulous producer John.
Fabulous
Daly.
producer John Daly.
Yeah.
I'd like to go with the guy sleeping in the truck because I can relate on a personal level, but I think I have to go with stolen fire truck.
Stolen fire truck is really strong. I agree.
Like, she put a lot of effort into that script.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a caper. She had to start the night before. She slept there at the fire station, pretended to be a firefighter. Yeah.
That's dedication.
I mean, with all the acting, she probably shouldn't have done it because, they're on strike. It was a perfect method acting job for
That's it. Who knew? And Albert, what was your favorite, sir?
It's a terrible story, but just on when I see headlines, it really grabs my attention. And that first one, terrible guy, by the way, like exposing himself to underage folks. But seeing the demons really got me. I just think that's a hilarious headline.
Yeah, you are not real. You are demons.
You are not exactly.
Yeah,
I just couldn't go with pedo guy.
It wasn't. So had it just been the exposure of the genitals, that wouldn't have been enough to put him over the top. But it was him exclaiming as he did, "You are not real, you are demons." That makes him a favorite for you.
Yeah, I tell myself that all the time when I'm going through any situation. So.
Okay.
Albert, thank you.
All right, and Kim, how about it? What is your favorite?
Kim, how are you?
I was kind of rolling toward peacock vasectomies, but I think I have to go stolen fire truck. I mean, if not for the booking photo alone, I just feel like, the audacity to then go into the firehouse and pretend that you work there. I don't know. I'm going with that. Yeah.
And the one detail, I also am going with stolen fire truck, primarily because she ran out of gas. I just love that. And she has to call back to the station going, hey, I've run out of
That's a weird reason to call. I thought you were going to say she needed directions or something. I don't know.
Oh, too good. So
and the chat did agree. 65% of the poll is the woman stealing the fire truck.
Oh, women stealing the fun. There she is. It's good.
There's a reason
and this place is fun.
fun.
Yeah, there you go. That is Friday Fabulous Florida for today.
This has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
Daly, I thank you for being here. And I have to go back and see my dad next week. So I'll be here for a part of the week, but next Friday I'll have to be traveling back to the West Coast. At least that's the plan. You, John Daly, I hope will be here to help fill out the field as Kim.
Are you saying you're going to have a busy week?
I have a busy
I do have a busy week. Are you? Will you be here next Friday to fill out?
Well,
the
I will
field?
now because you're doing that thing talk show hosts do, like Pat Thurston, where you like rope the guest into coming back.
Can you stay in over the break? Can you stay over the break?
Yeah. Next week, can I book you right now on the air?
Yeah, it's true. In fact,
love you,
Pat. And the breaks, sometimes are 9 minutes, and you go, "Okay, can you stay over the commercial?" They were thinking, "Oh, a couple of minutes of commercial, sure, I can
market
hear, but
volatility, market volatility."
Fabulous producer John Daly.
All right, John, thank you for being here, and I'm counting on you next week. John Daly, everybody, love our John Daly. All right, much to do. Nice job, Albert. That was a great Florida, and let's figure out what we're doing next.
The Mark Thompson Show.
As is typical on Fridays, it does happen. We run with a big fat show. It's really probably a show that could be 3 hours. But Kim has agreed to step back from her news and give us a supersized news bottom of the hour so that we can get to these next two guys. And we will do it promptly.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On Fridays, we like to look back at the week and just get a sense of what's happening in the world of politics. We bring on two distinguished analysts. One guy has reported from COVID wards, from polling places, from Trump rallies, from Central American elections. Quite impressive is the work that Michael Shure continues to do. He joins us here on Friday, and as I've told you, he has forgotten more about politics than most of us will ever know. Michael Shure, everybody. And he, of course, multiple award winner, Peabody Awards, Emmy Awards, the, what's his name? The Murrow is the guy I'm thinking of. The Murrow Awards. He's tripping over awards at his house on his way to other awards. He's the former senior correspondent at ABC. How about it for Jim Avila, everyone?
Morning.
Yeah. Boy, a lot went down this week, guys. There were congressional hearings. Hunter Biden is back. RFK showed up. Where do you want to begin? What jumped out at you, Jim Avila?
Well, I think we can put a fork in Robert F. Kennedy. I think that RFK's appearance before the committee, whatever the oversight committee.
Yeah, that's the oversight. Hold on one second, Jim, before you get to going.
Yeah, we might reconnect, Jim. We're getting that.
All right.
Make sure his whatever that is, some cancellation.
Yeah,
it's
like the echo cancellation. That
echo
you have
cancellation.
To click on, Albert.
Albert, will you make sure that is that you have to click on it or click off it? Well, whichever one is. Anyway, speak to that if you would, Michael. What he had just begun on the Hunter Biden thing, and Michael's muted, so yeah. I can tell when Michael's making a smart-ass comment, though, and he was just making one, but he...
You were 100% right. I wanted to know if you wanted me to speak to echo cancellation.
Okay.
So I don't even have to... You don't even have to hear me to know, Mark. That's amazing.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I think what Jim was saying was that what happened with RFK Jr. Look, the notion that RFK Jr. was going to come close to the presidency was absurd to begin with. And, I think what Jim was starting to say was that that fate was sealed when he testified this week before the committee, and Jim can pick up where we left off.
Yeah, Jim, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying that I think he's had his moment. The polls already in New Hampshire show him down from his initial polling. I think as people have gotten to hear his message past his name, they have realized that he is a kook. And his appearance before the committee, where he was just ripped apart by several Democratic congresspeople, was another backfire in the Republican effort to discredit Joe Biden in whatever way they can. And I think that he's been revealed as to who he is. I wrote a column about how he does this thing where he just says one lie after another and moves from one place to another and doesn't allow you to combat him or debate him. But the rules of the Senate, in this case, the rules of the House, allow the Congress people to say, stop, I take back my time, and don't allow him to go on and on and on. And they tell him he has to answer in yes or no questions. And that really revealed who he is, because he continued to lie and say he didn't say things. He claimed he was not against vaccines. And then they point out, and it's been played over and over on the media, how, he said in a podcast where he was hiking down here in Southern California and somebody passed by him with a kid and he told the mother not to get the kid vaccinated. He certainly is been an anti-vax guy. And to now say he's not is, he's been revealed, and I think his time is up.
The idea that the Republicans support him and want to give him a platform is associated with just trying to defeat Joe Biden. It's thought, and I really want to get your thoughts on this, that a third-party candidacy could suck away enough of Joe Biden's what's thought to be thin support in a general election to create a path for Donald Trump to reascend to the presidency. Michael?
Yeah, I think that's true. You see it happening with no labels. And on this show some time ago, I said that when Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema were making trouble for the Biden agenda in the Senate, I said that the only reason for Joe Manchin to be doing this is if he wanted to run for president. Well, the no labels people, who are, just a little background, they're sort of a third party, no labels, meaning that you're not associated with either party. You're not going to take conservative or liberal or Republican or Democrat. So the notion that Joe Manchin is now being courted by no labels and has not said that he's not going to run for president just shows the excitement level of any kind of a conservative that there could be damage done to the Democratic Party. RFK Jr. running, I think he wouldn't run as an independent. I don't know for sure. I think he wants to win the Democratic nomination. If he doesn't, he'll just go away as a candidate, because he knows even if his politics on COVID are what they are, and they're in the mainstream of many Republicans. He doesn't like Donald Trump. He actually blames Donald Trump for vaccines. And so he doesn't want to make Donald Trump president again. He himself wants to be president. He believed that he could beat Biden. If Biden were not to run, RFK Jr. would still not be the nominee or close to the nomination. It's just not the way it's going to work. And so, but a third party would disrupt this race in a way that could help, especially if these people are coming from Democratic strongholds, that could help Donald Trump. I don't see a lot of Democrats who identify with Joe Manchin nationally to the point where they would ruin the chance of a Democratic nominee. But again, that's the kind of thing that could happen, because Republicans would vote for him, and perhaps enough Democrats would that he could really make some hay, and but also hurt Donald Trump.
Yeah, and who does Manchin appeal to? Moderates. There's nobody more moderate in the Democratic Party than Joe Biden. So I'm not sure that Manchin is the guy who's going to pull a lot of moderate votes from Joe Biden. I think the more difficult problem is with the Green Party, and more progressives. Progressives are not enthralled with Joe Biden's performance. They don't think he's done all the things that he promised, student loan debt, and that kind of thing. And some of it, of course, has to do with the environment, where he's been forced to allow, by the way, some oil drilling on federal lands. So there's been, there's been some leakage there. I don't think it's enough. And AOC recently came out and said that she supports Joe Biden. So that helps.
Yeah, I'm going to push back a little on Jim. I'm going to reclaim a little of my time here. I think I think that what has surprised a lot of Democrats is how progressive an agenda Biden put forward. He is a moderate in that he is small c conservative. He is a creature of Washington, loves the way it works, and it works in a moderate way. It is most functional when it is moderate. So he respects that. But he also has the ear of a lot of progressives, both in his family and on the Hill. So I do think that there's a little bit of a I think we look at him as a moderate, but I think he has tried to govern as president as a more progressive version of Joe Biden. And yeah, there are certainly places and there are certainly progressives who are not excited about him. But I think it's not necessarily as much on policy as age and generation at this point for a lot of those voters.
It's interesting that Donald Trump.
I think you're absolutely right about why Biden is not, he's not very popular. It's not. And I don't think it's policy. I think policy he's done a pretty good job on, and has done a lot more than most people could do with this kind of Congress. But it is, and we've expressed this before, our concern about his age. And I think in general, that's the main problem with Joe Biden, why people are afraid of him having another 4 years.
Trump is playing the same songs that he typically plays. By that, I mean everything that essentially is going on under this administration is horrible. I mean, when he was running against Hillary, he talked about the Iran nuclear deal. He obviously, he couldn't find the Iran nuclear deal in that stack of 1,100, classified documents that he jacked out of the White House. But I thought the Iran nuclear deal, from everything I had read about it, I read quite a bit about it, it seemed like a pretty good deal, actually. But that was just one thing. It's the worst deal we've ever made. Everything's the worst it ever is. And so we come to the auto industry. So apparently this week, Trump was speaking to the United Auto Workers at a gathering designed to gain support of that union. And he started talking about the sad state of the auto industry and how the electric vehicles are essentially gutting the auto industry. Of course, the opposite is true. The auto industry is actually adding jobs in numbers that, far surpass anything that we've seen in recent history. So it's just as they said, there are these new vehicles provide new opportunities. Still, at the end of it, it's just the power of rhetoric. The thought is that the United Auto Workers may not actually throw in with Joe Biden ahead of what is typically thought of to be the labor ticket, the Democratic Party.
Which is a little astonishing considering, and I don't believe it's going to happen, but considering what has happened with some of these auto plants that during the Trump years and before that, to be fair, were decimated, were closed, where there was no production. They've repurposed that Lordstown in Ohio, outside of Cleveland, the Lordstown plant, which had been a poster child of the auto industry going down. They've repurposed that, and there are people back at work. UAW jobs are there. One of the biggest criticisms of the Biden White House has been messaging, and I that I would say that their messaging has not been on point. Hard to message against someone like Trump, who is able to captivate an audience and have them kind of repeat what he says. And I see it in person, and I'm sure Jim does, and we all see it when we watch the TV or watch shows stream, that these people just regurgitate what he is saying, and that in and of itself is a great printing press. But the point is, the Biden people haven't done that, and if they lose labor, it's really the fault of messaging, because the auto industry has done quite well and rebounded quite well over the last few years.
Well, you talk about messaging a lot, Jim Avila, that this administration has a lot of victories you think that they can be proud of, but it just really doesn't get out there.
Yeah, I think they're doing a little better. I think Bidenomics has really taken hold. I think that the reason why the Republicans are doing all this oversight and doing all these cultural issues is because their main issue, the only issue that was really going to win for them, is the economy. And the economy is doing pretty damn well. And he is successful. And so they've kind of dropped that. That's gone into the background because inflation is down. Employment is at an all-time high, and people are being paid more. And as far as unions are concerned, look, they may have politely applaud Donald Trump, but there is no way, in my opinion, that the UAW is not going to support Joe Biden. Joe Biden, his whole political resume is labor. He is not going to lose that part of the vote. His vulnerability is solely about his age, in my opinion. He has, he can, and that's why he needs to step back. If he stepped back right now, he would be practically on Mount Rushmore for the things that he's done and to bring this country back from where it was. The only thing he can do is go downhill in the second term because of his health. And I wish he realized that.
And the cycles of politics the way they are, he will. It's inevitable that that's going to happen, even if it shouldn't happen, even if it's not deserved. He could leave this presidency, knowing what we know now, without unanticipated happenings ahead of us during the rest of his term. He would leave with a fantastic legacy. He was elected to be a president to hold our hands and take us across the river to get to the other side and kind of calm the Trump years. And he did more than that. His record of success and accomplishment far exceeds at this point anything that anybody could have predicted. He was just sort of like the guy who was going to watch the house for us while we were away, and then we'd come back and start again. And so I think Jim's right. I also still believe that by the end of the summer he won't be a candidate. But the point is that he shouldn't be either, and the Democrats would profit, and so too would the Biden legacy. He's someone, we talked about his progressivism before, he's someone who listens to the people in his family very closely. His sister Valerie has run every single one of his campaigns. His grandchildren are part of why his progressive agenda is what it is, not entirely, but certainly an outsized role. And I think his family is going to tell him that this is not the time to run for re-election and to lead this.
That's interesting. I haven't heard those signals yet, but it's hard for a president to step down, and it's also hard to step down early because then you're a lame duck, and he has some things to get done. So if he's going to step down, it's going to be later on.
No, I agree, but you also have to give these candidates time to run proper elections, Democrats who would, position themselves to run. And I personally, this is we'll predict it here on the show. I don't think Vice President Harris is going to run again either. I think that both of them would leave, and there would be new blood or old blood, but still new compared.
New old blood is what you're saying?
Well, meaning that we're not going to.
I understand.
It's haven't heard of that's going to run.
Right.
For president.
They're not minting somebody completely new. It's going to be a name that we're familiar with. I wanted to ask you about one other thing, guys, and that is that once these debates begin on the Republican side, I'm wondering how that will affect what you're talking about, or what it's implied in what you're talking about, which is the approval rating of Biden. You've suggested, for whatever reason, probably his age, messaging that hasn't been always so clear or whatever, but now is just beginning to take hold. For whatever reason, maybe it's all his age. His approval rating, as you know, has been lagging. So my question is, once you start to see a coherent picture of the alternatives to Joe Biden on the debate stage with the GOP, I'm wondering to what extent Biden's approval might actually rise when now when you're comparing A and B, do things change, Michael?
It depends who's on the stage, right? If Donald Trump's on the stage and is talking, in ways that he is now projecting his voice through Truth Social and other methods. If he's being the Trump that we've seen of late, then that's going to be the attention getter. If he's not on the stage and the people that are on the stage are going after Trump, but you're not seeing any. My personal belief is that any alternative is going to get an independent voter interested in the Republican, with Biden at his age and with Trump off the stage, which is why I think the Democrats would love to see Trump be the nominee. As crazy as that may sound, independent voters, people who predicted that Donald Trump would lose in 2015, I among them in 2016. There was no way he could have won then, right? But you had some factors going on. We had 4 years of him. He's a known quantity now to independent voters who came and voted for him, who didn't like, with an exclamation point, what he stood for. You also don't have Hillary Clinton, and Hillary Clinton was somebody who was a repellent to a lot of voters in America. So the dynamic is totally different. The more Trump there is, I think, the better it is for Biden. Without Trump, you start seeing reasonable alternatives on that stage who may moderate their message without Trump being there, as long as they're not just devotees of Trump on that stage.
They'd have to moderate their message, though, wouldn't they, Jim Avila? Because their message is really pretty much against what a lot of popular support might suggest.
Yeah, I mean, right
Roe,
now,
for example. Yeah.
Right now, Trump has got 70% negativity in the polls. 70% is a lot. I mean, that means he's got his core that we've always talked about, that 30%, and that's about it. I don't think, and I think that these trials, one after another, and now the judge in Florida has set the trial for May of 2024, which is right after most of the primaries and right in the heart of the campaign. And he's got at least two others that are looming. He is going to be, I don't think that Donald Trump is going to be the nominee. I don't think that's going to happen. I think his support is going to dwindle, and it'll remain at 30%. The problem is that there is no alternative. Ron Desantis has imploded. He is an awful person. The people don't like him. It's not like George Bush, who was perceived as dumb, but everybody kind of liked him. He was a nice guy. But Ron DeSantis is not a nice guy, and I don't think he's going to go anywhere. Rick Scott, I'm sorry, but I don't think Republicans are going to nominate a black Republican.
Tim Scott, that's.
Tim Scott.
Yeah,
they're not going to nominate him. That leaves Nikki Haley. Are they going to nominate a woman? That's just not who they are. Who the core Republican people are. So there isn't a candidate on the Republican side either. Who do you see, Michael? Do you see somebody?
I look at Tim Scott a little differently. I think that if South Carolina could elect him as a senator, that Republicans can vote for him. As a matter of fact, they almost like it in spite. I mean, it's owning the libs in a way that they really get off doing. So I think I wouldn't just dismiss it because of on the basis of Tim Scott's race. I also think that if they are able to get away from Trump, which I don't think, I still think at this point he's the nominee unless something happens in the courts or a deal is made that he's not going to run as long as he doesn't have to, face jail time, et cetera. Then you start looking at others like Asa Hutchinson, the former governor of Arkansas. Nikki Haley, I don't think so. I don't think Kristi Noem, but I think Tim Scott becomes appealing. And then you Freudian slip there with Rick Scott. I think somebody like Rick Scott, if Ron DeSantis continues to flounder, Rick Scott has a lot of money. He was a popular senator in Florida, and he has a chance. He was, when he was governor, he was a popular governor, especially among Hispanics and not just Cubans, among Puerto Ricans who he welcomed there after the disasters of the hurricanes there. And so there is something that can happen with Rick Scott. There could be an alternative once Trump is out of the picture. One of these other people who can fundraise will ascend.
Rick Scott, also not the most charming guy, though, wouldn't you say?
No.
I mean, in a DeSantis, Rick Scott, who's the worst guy, it might be a photo finish. Yeah.
The party that nominated Bob Dole, let's not forget. But I think that there are, that's a generation ago, of course. But
even Bob Dole was a likable Grinch. I mean,
he was a likable Grinch, right? And no, it's a little bit unfair, but I don't think that niceness is what really gets the Republican nomination all the time. So I'm not.
You may be right.
Yeah.
You got to like him, though.
The presidency is a different story. I can't see Rick Scott winning the presidency. I'm talking just about the nomination.
Well, Rick Scott also perpetrated that whole scheme, Michael, in Florida.
They're going to dig deeper into healthcare and Rick Scott.
He's also very vulnerable on the Social Security issue, and the fact that his plan was to get rid of Social Security and cut back on Medicare. That.
Yeah, don't lead with that. Right?
Yes, that's not.
By the way, there are other governors. There's Brian Kemp in Georgia, who has done the best job of any national politician of keeping his distance, a Republican politician, keeping his distance from Donald Trump while still maintaining his conservative course, saying, I can't stand Joe Biden. We got to get rid of him. But Donald Trump's way out of line. So there are not very many Republicans who have been able to do that successfully. And
you might see Sununu too. You might see Sununu come back in the picture.
Yeah, he could. So names, I think what Jim and I are both saying is that with Trump out of the picture, names that are not on the ballot right now are going to be much more prominent.
Next week, I'll be traveling back and you'll be with Kim. But I'd like for you guys to address.
I'm not going to do that.
So next week,
what?
On the other hand, I want to have double the time with Kim.
Yes, that's the kind of that's the American way. Yeah. But I'd love for you guys to address.
Breaking my heart.
I'd like.
She introduces me well, and then she just kind of slights Michael, which I love.
That's right. Yeah.
Today you really made up for
Kim,
it.
How are you?
You must have listened last week.
I did. In fact, Kim, because we live out loud on this show, I'll tell you this. Kim said, "You really have to tell me some other stuff I can say about Michael Shure because I feel like I gave him short shrift in the
tripping over his Peabody. Come on,
in the intro. I know. Then if I wax
that, Mark writes all the intros. So
I
just want to say
exactly
Mark's fault.
It it was my bad.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Okay, so next week, I'd like you guys to address the attempt on the part of the U.S. government, this is happening in governments around the world, to somehow control AI and big tech. They're doing this voluntary thing now, but these are big companies, and I feel as though they really own their own stuff in ways that the government is going to have trouble getting in and actually regulating. Sit with it. Think about it. We haven't even heard what they're going to do yet, so let's wait, and that will all come out next week, and I'd love for you guys to weigh in on it, because it gets to regulation, and it gets to big media and big tech, and I think that's very much stuff that I'd like to hear you guys weigh in on. So maybe
Mark, I can barely work my remote, so that conversation is
But when it comes to
a lot of airtime.
When it comes to regulation, though, you can you don't have to run a railroad or understand how it works to understand how regulating railroads works. So
I also like you say, hey, I'm out of here. You guys talk about AI.
Look, I'd be happy to record something with you if you prefer. I know all about it.
Maybe you need Courtney to get on the show for this.
Oh,
some
my
25-year-old.
All right. How about it? Jim Avila, Michael Shure. Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend. Yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
Yeah, I will let you know. I didn't retweet you, Albert. Damn, I didn't. After all of that, where I tell people to share the show, I didn't retweet. Here it is. Here's Albert's. I'll retweet it now. Catch the Michael Snyder segment coming up. Snyder, the Culture Blaster on movies. Of course, there's the Barbie movie. There's the Oppenheimer film. We'll get into that next. Kim's news, and then the Culture Blaster with everything you need to know about movies.
Kim, how are you?
And you can smash that like button
Smashed
like a
it
boss.
with your iron rod.
Smash it like a boss.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
Like a boss is what I'm saying.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah. Kim McCallum McAllister on the Mark Thompson Show, and let's start here in California because there is the California energy grid facing a bit of stress for the first time this summer. The California Independent System Operator issued an Energy Emergency Alert 1. They did that last night. CalISO officials citing high heat and a higher than anticipated power demand. Just a few hours earlier last evening, CalISO said grid conditions were stable and it didn't anticipate any energy supply shortages. The alert was in effect for an hour. It was canceled after the sun went down, so we'll see how we do today. Former President Trump's trial in his classified documents case will start next year. So, yeah, it'll be a little bit of a wait. The judge, Eileen Cannon, in the case has scheduled the trial to begin May 20th of 2024. Trump, of course, facing more than 36 federal charges related to his handling of classified documents. And as Mark was mentioning earlier, iconic singer Tony Bennett has passed away at 96 years old. Bennett was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 2016, but continued performing and recording through 2021. His last public appearance was at Radio City Hall with Lady Gaga in 2021. That heat wave continues to scorch a lot of America, as a matter of fact, not just California. Over 2,000 heat records broken across the southern U.S. from California to Florida since the first heat wave advisories were posted in early June. Forecasters think this heat could stick with us well into August. In Phoenix, Arizona, temperatures have stayed above 110 for at least 21 days. And in Las Vegas, the asphalt has been baking at about 144 degrees. Yikes. The email accounts of top U.S. diplomats have reportedly been hacked or breached by Chinese hackers. The Wall Street Journal reports hackers broke into Ambassador to China Nicholas Burns' email account, along with email accounts of the Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo and Daniel Crittenbrink, the Assistant Secretary of State for East Asia. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said he raised the issue of Chinese hacking when he met China's top diplomat Wang Yi last week. This is a sad story out of New Jersey. It happened aboard a school bus. A school bus aide who's supposed to be a monitor watching these kids is now facing manslaughter charges in the death of this 6-year-old girl. Her name is Phasia Williams. She is a nonverbal special needs student, and she was strapped into her wheelchair on the way to summer school Monday morning when a series of bumps that the bus hit caused the wheelchair harness to tighten, and it choked her to death.
Oh, my God.
I know. I'm so sorry to report it to you, but bus video shows 27-year-old Amanda Davila sitting up front using her cell phone with earbuds in both ears when this incident happened. So she is supposed to be the bus monitor, right? Well, this woman who was on her phone instead of paying attention to the kids is now facing a manslaughter charge. And another disturbing story that I am very sorry to report to you. This Nebraska teenager who used abortion pills to end her pregnancy is going to jail for 90 days. Let's let that sink in. She's 19. She was sentenced Thursday after pleading guilty earlier this year to illegally concealing human remains. She and her mother were charged last year after police obtained their private Facebook messages discussing plans to end the pregnancy and burn the evidence. A tornado in North Carolina may be contributing to a drug shortage in the United States. We showed you this picture yesterday. It's the Pfizer plant in North Carolina, and it was damaged in an EF3 tornado, which rolled through the town of Rocky Mount on Wednesday. It did considerable damage to this Pfizer facility, and this facility makes about 25% of the company's sterile injectable drugs used in United States hospitals. So that's why they think there may be a drug shortage coming up. We'll see what the effect really is. It's kind of publicity, maybe getting the message out to the people. I don't know. But New York City Mayor Eric Adams is hosting his own radio show now. He's going the route of Mark Thompson.
Wow.
Hear from the Mayor will be broadcast semi-regularly on a New York City FM radio station. It will start this Sunday. The program will feature news of the day, special guests who are moving the city forward, and live call-ins from New Yorkers who would like to discuss the issues that they care about.
Wow. I wonder if he'll use drops.
I don't think.
Hey, which one you use? Mark Thompson?
Yeah. Huh?
I think we should invite him on this show to promote his show. You see?
Yeah. Why not? Need some New Yorkers.
Lastly, at this rate, Mammoth Mountain ski season could run into next winter. Yesterday, the Mammoth Mountain ski area announced it will be extending its season through August 6th. That tacks an extra week onto the previous closing date. This is only the second time in the resort's nearly 70-year history that it's had enough snow to stay open into August. So Mammoth Mountain open through August 6th. Go ski in the summer and have a blast. Right? I don't know.
Live it up.
This report is crowdfunded, which means that we rely on you to support the show. You will find the Patreon and PayPal links at themarkthompsonshow.com, themarkthompsonshow.com. And of course, the Super Chat is live. I'm Kim McAllister here on The Mark Thompson Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shadow Stevens. This is The Mark Thompson Show. Keep it to yourself.
Use Mark Thompson.
Yeah, what up, everybody? We're finishing up a Friday. So excited that this guy can be with us. You know, he knows music, movies. He'll do the big blockbusters. He'll do some Danish film that, no one's ever heard of with a bunch of subtitles. He's got quite the range. That's all I'm trying to say. And he knocks around the city, goes to all the clubs, and I don't know how you do it, Michael Snyder. I don't know how you do it, but he does come and go on a rainbow. He's the great Michael Snyder, everyone. Hi, Michael Snyder.
Well, hi, Mark. Hi, Kim. Hi, Albert. Hello, audience. Love you. Glad that you're out there. A little saddened by the passing of Tony Bennett. Met the guy during a Live 105 special concert experience I had once back in the day when I was affiliated with that radio station. I went backstage. It was nice to meet you. He was a really wonderful guy.
He really was a down-to-earth kind of dude.
And I always associate that song with the Giants' victory. I left my heart in San Francisco and all of that crap. Oh my God! Of course, Tony he's beyond essential.
In San Francisco and all that crap.
Listen, he did have some problems early on. The original version of that song, written specifically for him, was "I left my nose in Las Vegas."
How dare you? How dare you, Albert? I want that excised from this segment.
We love Tony, and we'll miss him terribly, and we're glad he was around.
What is it, Michael?
Every time someone says the hype is real, to suggest a rave for some TV show or movie or musician or restaurant or book, I think absolutely, no doubt, the hype is real. That's some real hype right there.
The hype part is real, but is there real behind the hype?
I know, but that said, I want to hype up Striptease, the newly released memoir by my friend Kate Flannery about her post-collegiate move to L.A. from the Philly area in the early 2000s after she graduated from Bryn Mawr, and her recruitment onto the staff of American Apparel. This book snaps, crackles, and pops, and you can check it out. Go to Amazon and look up Striptease.
Isn't she gonna come on the show? Albert, did we book her? Or did I include you in that email? Or
I hope we do, because
Kim, maybe you can help me.
This job at American Apparel turns out to be like almost a cult-like situation, thanks to the company's weirdo CEO. And this is all about Kate's descent into that and trying to pull herself out of it, and also very much a lovely memoir of life in the go-go early 2000s in Los Angeles. I hope we have a chance to bring her in.
Yeah, Kim, you'll help me make that happen, because we've got all the contact information. I don't know where Albert, he's in and out, so yeah.
I'd like to note that I got an email this morning from Dan Dresser, who feels like Michael Snyder should be awarded a special award for the #1 use of ding words. I'll just say that people are noticing.
I don't like to do that. I don't like the good thing about Michael Snyder, in addition to everything else that's good
so
about
nice
him.
that you're talking about me in the third person and I'm sitting here.
Well, the good thing about Michael Snyder is that he doesn't try to use ding words. That is, you can tell when somebody's like going early on when we started the ding words, people were kind of going out of their way to, but he doesn't. And so he and David Katz has a strong ding game, I have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but Snyder, you are the squad leader. I agree with that.
Hey, listen, I keep my dings about me. You know what I'm saying?
All right, so
let's get to
where
movies.
are we starting? Yeah,
okay, despite coming in at 3 hours, filmmaker Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer has all the majesty and fearful power of a nuclear explosion throughout, and that's appropriate because it's about the guy, the father of the atom bomb. This is the man. J. Robert Oppenheimer, whose research and organizational skills led to the first atomic explosion. This is a lush and meticulously rendered epic. It's historically significant, this film bio. It is riveting. Cillian Murphy, probably best known up until now for brilliantly playing the expedient and morally compromised Tommy Shelby, leader of the crime family in the rip-roaring period TV show Peaky Blinders. His career should ascend even further on the strength of this complex and haunting performance he delivers as Oppenheimer. This guy was brilliant, a left-leaning physicist, and his visionary approach to building a bomb that would defeat the Axis in World War II truly launched the atomic age. In fact, all the cast members in this movie, whether on screen for extended or brief times, are uniformly superb. Matt Damon is spot on as Lieutenant General Leslie Groves Jr., who chooses Oppenheimer as the right man to lead the Manhattan Project, again, the top secret gathering of scientists who were tasked with creating the ultimate means of mass destruction as World War II ramped up. And Robert Downey Jr., I smell an Oscar nomination.
Wow,
Robert Downey Jr., fantastic and unrecognizable as Louis Strauss, who initially endorses Oppie to Groves Jr., and then as the head of the Atomic Energy Commission, tries to throw Oppenheimer to the right-wing commie-hunting wolves.
Right.
And this is the time of the McCarthy hearings in the 50s. To be labeled a communist was a career death and social ostracizing.
I'll ding ostracizing, but I'll also ding because Tom was the keeper of the ding, said something there. What is Tom? Oh, expedient. I guess you could ding it. Go ahead.
Anyway, so the Allies, led by the U.S., are facing the Nazis and the Japanese war machine and forced to team up with Stalin's Russia. And Oppenheimer tables his reservations in the late 30s and those of his colleague and mentor Albert Einstein and races against time to set off the first A-bomb. Look, make no mistake, the ideas and the debate over the morality of creating and deploying unbridled world-destroying weaponry, even in the interest of preserving peace and freedom versus the threat of tyranny, is deeply ingrained in this movie. This is serious cinema, but never less than thrilling and absorbing, even as it resonates as really, really meaningful in these times, which, as you know, check the news, they continue to be perilous and precarious.
Perilous, precarious, resonates.
Oppenheimer knew what he had done when he brought this together. You remember that people talk about this. In an interview, he said that the first atomic test brought to mind a quote by the Hindu god Vishnu from the Bhagavad Gita, and I quote, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." He knew what a heavy situation this was.
Yeah, no, that was maybe one of the most powerful aspects of everything I know about him, is that he was aware of the profound nature of this and its destructive power, if you will. It's kind of the dark power that it had.
This is an important film, and Nolan depicts that utterly unstoppable force in stunning fashion, visually and viscerally, while telling the story of this conflict-filled journey undertaken by the man most responsible for bringing atomic power out of the realm of speculative science and into scary reality. There's also time spent on Oppenheimer's younger days as a student, his relationships with his comrades, get it? Comrades on the left, including his lover, Jean Tatlock, played by the glorious Florence Pugh, and his brother Frank, played by Dylan Arnold, and the passion and pain triggered by his life's work, such as the friction and the strife that plagued his marriage to the strong-willed, hard-drinking, but loyal Kitty Oppenheimer, played with simmering intensity by Emily Blunt. In smaller roles, you get Kenneth Branagh, Benny Safdie, Rami Malek. It's an Oscar fest, dude.
Wow.
Josh Hartnett, Matthew Modine, and other luminaries, including, whoa, that's Gary Oldman as President Harry S. Truman, an unbilled Gary Oldman. And seeing him, I immediately imagined a one-actor, two-man movie about a meeting between Oldman's Truman and Oldman's Winston Churchill from Darkest Hour, accomplished via split screen. It can be done.
That's
people.
great. That's a great take. By the way, viscerally is a ding word.
Speaking of screens, Oppenheimer was shot with IMAX 70-millimeter cameras and is truly in its glory on the IMAX screen. I encourage you to see it that way.
Why do I need to see?
It's so big and beautiful. The aspect ratio on the IMAX segments changes. And we talked about immersive cinema before, and man, these explosions will like.
Well, that's the thing, the explosion probably. But I mean, I don't know. I feel kind of weird wanting to just go to see it for the explosions.
No. There are personal moments that are also blown up and immersive. It's
immersive is a ding word, yeah.
If at all possible, or if you're interested, I would check it out there.
See it in IMAX. So it's 70-millimeter IMAX is what you really want. I mean, if you can possibly manage it.
Well,
but is there other IMAX besides 70?
No, all IMAX theaters can accommodate the 70-millimeter print.
Oh, they all can? Okay.
And I happen to see it on film. And I know that I would assume the digital presentation is also incredible. Look, Oppenheimer is now vying with Memento, The Dark Knight, and Dunkirk as my favorite Christopher Nolan movie.
Wow.
And I mean, this is the guy who also made Inception, Interstellar, Batman Begins, all of which blew me away. So consider that when I say how much Oppenheimer impressed me. It's in theaters.
Now, last thing about Oppenheimer from a historical perspective is, I mean, it's tragic what they did to Oppenheimer. They McCarthyized him, right?
Yes.
And he became one of the great victims of McCarthyism.
They tried to steal his security clearance. Not all that important, but it smeared him. A man who was loyal to his country. By the way, he was Jewish. And in the realm of non-traditional casting, putting an Irishman in the role of a Jew, I don't know. Cillian Murphy is so good. I'm kidding.
But it's that's funny. In the new America, it's like, how come you should have cast a Jewish person in the Jewish role, right? But the it was just a troubling time. I know he was friends with Albert Einstein. I think
he was. There are segments where
somebody plays Einstein. In the movie?
and beautifully, and those are wonderful little scenes. I was enraptured by this thing.
Wow, and that's a ding word. Okay, what's next?
Speaking of World War II, as we were, there's Barbie, the biopic about Klaus Barbie, the Nazi Gestapo commandant known as the Butcher of... Oh, no, wait a minute. No. I got that wrong. Barbie is the product placement-driven and seemingly relentless fun fest built around the doll that changed the toy industry and impacted girls with the promise of sky's the limit career options, a hunger for material possessions, let's be honest, and some unrealistic body image expectations. No one was going to be as skinny as Barbie.
Right.
And yet, the popularity of the doll was explosive. Promoted unrelentingly for the past couple months, Barbie was directed by the thoughtful indie actress and filmmaker Greta Gerwig, and co-written by her and her partner, the honored director-screenwriter Noah Baumbach, whose work I admire immensely. And I will say this, Baumbach's hit or miss, but when he hits, he's a knockout. It's a knockout blow. Barbie hasn't just been harnessing the zeitgeist, it's been throttling it. So much pink. I mean, if I have to hear Barbie Girl, the dance pop hit from the Scandinavian band Aqua, one more time on Instagram Reels, I will unleash an army of Transformers and G.I. Joes on Barbie Land. I will. And yes, there is a Barbie Land, at least in this movie. So the movie, a summertime bauble for sure. It purports to tell the tale of a vapid, self-proclaimed, stereotypical Barbie, played by the super lovely and talented Margot Robbie. Stereotypical Barbie, who, for convenience purposes, we'll call Barbie number one, lives in plastic, fantastic Barbie land, where Barbies rule and Kens drool. So this is a community of Barbies and Kens and their friends. We're all as happy and friendly fun, but suddenly Barbie number one, who regularly blows off Ken number one, played by Ryan Gosling, whenever he hits on her. I thought they were boyfriend and girlfriend. What is up with that? Anyway, she is plagued by an existential crisis. That's right.
Existential.
A weird crone-like Barbie, played by Kate McKinnon, sends Barbie number 1 off on a journey to the real world to find the Barbie doll owner who is triggering the crisis. So Ken tags along and discovers that men are largely in charge of our world, unlike Barbie Land. Even the board of Mattel, makers of the Barbie doll and associated dolls and accessories, is entirely male in the movie, with a clueless, obnoxious CEO played by Will Ferrell, who needs to learn his lesson by movie's end, of course. So kudos to Mattel for signing off on this. But then again, the movie is a giant zillion-dollar ad for Barbie. And Barbie the movie does have copious charms. There is a lively, overloaded cast with an immensely likable Robbie and an immensely annoying Gosling. Veterans like Farrell, McKinnon, Rhea Perlman, John Cena, Issa Rae, and Michael Cera, and many younger talents who are seriously on the rise, although relegated to these all-too-short moments and blink and you'll miss them cameos. You got Kens and Barbies played by Simu Liu, Kingsley Ben-Adir, Emma Mackey, and Ncuti Gatwa. I got to give props to the movie's splendiferous visual sense. Again, so much pink. After mere minutes, you won't be
so
thinking,
much pink, says Michael Snyder.
You won't be thinking pink after a few minutes. You'll be blinded by it.
Run, don't walk to this movie. There's so much pink.
Bring your sunglasses because the pink is dazzling. Look, I support the inclusiveness, the gender politics, the female empowerment and playfulness at the heart of it, but it's got some muddled messaging, relentless clever gags, and some not-so-funny jokes, and kind of wacky world building with its legion of Barbies and Kens, and it all starts to get a bit wearying halfway through the movie's second hour. Yeah, it almost pushes 2 hours. It's supposed to be summer piffle, but nah.
Yeah. Kudos is a ding word. Splendiferous is a ding word.
Splendiferous doesn't even exist as a word.
I know. I was going to say, but I thought there was something else you said, relegated. Yeah, relegated.
Anyway, there's an unclear idea of exactly what's causing the rift between the human mother, played by America Ferrara, and her daughter, played by Ariana Greenblatt, whose handling of the Barbie doll in the real world is purportedly what sets Barbie number 1 on her quest.
Purportedly. But I want to ask you, wait a minute. So is the Barbie doll a doll, or is this Barbie come to life?
There are Barbie dolls in the real world, and a living, breathing, I assume, Barbie lives in Barbie Land, which is populated by Barbies and Kens and their friends. Look, I don't mean to be a buzzkill. It's worth seeing, but the script by Gerwig and Baumbach may be a little too smart for its own good, and so many talented actors get lost in the sea of Barbies and Kens. Ultimately, Barbie number 1 is more of a vessel for ideas on feminism, the patriarchy, commerce, and so on than a fully realized character, as good as Robbie is. And that diminishes this admittedly frivolous movie's emotional impact. You know, people are going to flock to this thing.
But I mean, but in terms of what the realities here, you're saying it's sort of it's on a 10 scale. It's like a 7. It sounds.
Yeah,
like.
It tries to serve so many masters that a lot gets lost in the shuffle.
Okay.
It's in theaters, and by the way, for the record, Klaus Barbie did not wear pink. He did not. That was not part of his uniform.
Tom says patriarchy's a ding word. Yeah, okay.
Patriarchy is something to watch out for.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What's next?
Okay.
So those are the two big ones, Oppenheimer and Barbie.
That's why we devoted time to them. They are cultural phenomenons.
Yes, sir.
Or Oppenheimer should be as much of one as Barbie is. Over the past year, we've seen some movies recounting the rise of memorable and idiosyncratic products that captured the public's imagination for a time in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. There was Tetris, about the addictive video game, BlackBerry, about the groundbreaking smartphone, and Air, about the creation and endorsement of Nike's mega popular Air Jordan sneakers. All 3 of those recent feature releases are damned good and highly recommended by yours truly. Now comes the Beanie Bubble, which dramatizes the billion-dollar 90s craze for collecting the small stuffed animals known as Beanie Babies.
Sure.
Often as investments for amateur speculators back then.
Right. It was it was like the Bitcoin of its time.
That is a fair correlation to make. Zach Galifianakis is small-time toy salesman Ty Warner, And Elizabeth Banks is the canny go-getter Robbie, who teams with Ty in business and in the sack and helps to build the Beanie Empire. Those are some solid stars. Throw in Sarah Snook of Succession as the single mom who succumbs to Ty's romantic overtures as the toy company's fortunes soar, and Geraldine Viswanathan as the company intern who builds the Beanie Babies collector frenzy on the vestigial internet, because it's the 90s and the internet is just getting rolling.
Vestigial.
So you've got some strong performances for what is a middling movie that I found diverting, but nowhere near as exciting as Tetris, Blackberry, or Air. The Beanie Bubble was written by, get this, ex-Futurama and SNL staffer Kristen Gore. Yes, Al Gore's daughter. And co-directed by her and her husband, Damon Kulash, who's lead singer and guitarist of the endlessly clever pop rock band OK Go. And the Beanie Bubble is okay. I don't know that you should go. Anyway, it's not much more than that.
I see what you did.
I know. It's in select theaters this weekend and on Apple TV next weekend, where it's probably a better bet.
I see. Okay.
And so that's the Beanie Bubble.
I love it. Big three. You want to try to squeeze one more in real quick?
One more. Cobweb is a small-scale horror movie set in a nondescript neighborhood as Halloween approaches. It seems like the movie's release is a couple months early, but whatevs. The setup here involves a sensitive 8-year-old boy named Peter, who is dealing with night terrors and bad dreams seemingly brought on by tapping in the wall of his bedroom. But is it really there? What's there? What is something tapping? His parents, played by Lizzie Kaplan, so good in the Showtime series Masters of Sex, and Anthony Starr, quite the handful as the superpowered Homelander on Amazon Prime's The Boys. They try to put his mind at ease, saying he's imagining everything, but he's suspicious of them and their motives. So at school, Peter is bullied, and only his new substitute teacher, Miss Devine, offers any comfort and support. By Halloween, things have gotten worse and freakier for poor Peter, played by a kid actor named Woody Norman, who seems to be put through the ringer in this film. Anyway, Mom and Dad seem off, and the noises in the bedroom wall now include a voice. Cobweb, it poses the question of whether or not parents are protectors or tormentors, while it also leans on the mystery of whether or not there's a real threat to Peter, and if so, what's its nature? We've seen this sort of thing before, so the familiarity undercuts some of the tension. Still, Cobweb isn't bad. In fact, it would be a decent Halloween weekend diversion for home viewing, and I expect it will be available to stream by Halloween.
Wow.
For now, it's only in theaters.
Cobweb is the Halloween entry that's ahead of its time, literally.
Yeah.
It's the summer Halloween entry. Michael says it's okay.
It's all right. It's
if you like a little Halloween scare in the middle of your summer.
Kind of boilerplate.
Not a bad way to go. Cobweb. The Beanie Bubble, all about the Beanie Baby craze. Zach Galifianakis and all the other performers that you recognize from Succession and beyond. He says it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah. Barbie, serving all those masters that Michael talked about. Feminism and opportunity and potential and the patriarchy. This is Barbie, if we can switch the, there it is. There's a lot of pink. It's visually popping, right?
Oh, yeah, totally.
And it's not bad. You felt that its shortcoming might be that it tried to serve so many masters, tell so many stories, and have so many messages.
Right. Muddled, mixed messages.
But okay.
Yeah, it's a trip. I'll tell you that.
Okay. And then Oppenheimer, which was, you felt all the virtuosity that you expect from Christopher Nolan. Again, now Oppenheimer, please, you can change the graphic. The Oppenheimer movie, if you can see it, you recommend it for IMAX because you just feel that there's just so much visually going on. You'll get a different sense of scope and perspective.
It's so good, though. I mean, any way you watch it, don't watch it on your phone, you morons. No, please, I'm begging you. But when it comes to home video, I'm sure it'll be a worthwhile experience, too. It's the unvarnished recommendation for the weekend.
Wow. There you go. Go grab a little Oppie. Oppenheimer opening this weekend. So, Michael, thank you, first of all. I I won't be here next Friday. I'll be with Kim.
I love Kim McAllister. We'll have a great time in your absence.
I'm confident you will. Anything on the Giants that you'd like to leave us with?
I just want to say every time they win at home, we hear Tony Bennett.
Oh, that's right. There you go.
Bring a little tear to my eye. And go Giants. I know they're going to come out of this minor tailspin they hit the past 2 games in Cincy. They will go to D.C. and hopefully triumph over the Nats.
Bravo, Michael. He comes and goes on a rainbow. Bye-bye, Michael Snyder.
So long, everybody.
Yeah. Love my Michael Snyder. Good stuff. Things are rocking today.
I've told you, it's never easy being in this business.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Now, Kim, I have had a lot of fun today. More fun even than I thought I was going to have, and I thought I was going to have fun.
Yeah.
We had a strong Florida segment.
It was good.
I got to tell my Tony Bennett tennis story again, which was quite special, always a crowd pleaser. And I'll remind everyone who's watching now that beginning August 1st, if you're watching now, there's still another hour of show to go. That's right. Because on August 1st, we start at 11 a.m. Pacific time, and we go until 1 o'clock.
What?
Now, yes, all of your favorites will rally here starting at 11 a.m. And then Nikki's show, as you may be aware, will move to 9 a.m. So these are Pacific times, 9 a.m. Pacific, 9 to 11, Nikki, and my show will go 11 to 1.
And
so
then
yes.
There's a little extra thing coming from that 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock hour that you're vacating.
What?
Yeah. It's called the After Party Live.
Oh.
So after you, after Nikki, we're going to do one
I love
more
this.
hour.
You're making the announcement here. That's very, very good.
It's the After Party. Yeah.
And what is the after party?
It's an hour, of all the kind of a wrap up, all the things we talked about, maybe some late breaking news, some stuff like that.
And you're hosting that, is what you're saying.
I'll host that, and John Daly's helping me get that lifted off the ground. You saw him in Friday Fabulous Florida today. So yeah, it's going to be good. The afterparty.live, you can subscribe there. And so far, I think we have 123 subscriptions. So it's slow but sure.
That's a living. I love it. Thanks again to Sausalito Steve. I love my Sausalito Steve. Big shout out. And thanks for a 20, Steve. It helps. We are crowdfunded on this show.
Thank you so much.
And even as Kim begins her own thing, she will be on this show. And we still have to make her payroll. So thank you, Sausalito Steve. Karen,
thank you, Steve.
Also, we've already thanked you once, but I want to give you another shout out here at the end of the show for another 20. Joe Fong, come on, Joe Fong.
Big shout out,
Joe, and thank you so much. Joe, if I can say, I appreciate you so much. In fact, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And it's Deirdre Lozica from Lozica Concrete. Come on,
thank you so much.
Thank you so much for a 20 super sticker. Big shout out. As I've told you, for all my concrete needs, I go to Lozica Concrete, and I hope that for all of your concrete needs, you'll go to Lozica Concrete.
Do you have a lot of concrete needs? Is that high on your
I
list?
do. All my needs are concrete. How dare you suggest that I...
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that question. And we acknowledged, and I think it was a good point the lady Beatrice made about the Barbie movie. Always been controversial, has Barbie. I'm surprised no parent groups have pounced on this yet. They haven't. It's hard to get in front of this moving train. It's a big one. But thank you for that super chat. And Wes, of course.
Big shout out.
Big shout out to Wes. So again, there it is. A wrap on another show. I don't know. I don't want to leave.
I don't want you to go either. Yeah.
Alas, I must. They're asking what the link is. Julie is asking for your new show. You'll have that all. You'll.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, you'll fill us in. It's. I didn't know Kim was going to break the news today. I would have made a bigger deal out of it. No, I do. I feel bad. I'm sorry. I would have made a bigger deal out of it. But
See,
you
I
just
feel
popped.
like I was robbed of finally getting the major news announcement.
Yeah, right. I mean, we had a major announcement, and she just popped it in there like, oh, one more thing.
Well, you were already talking about the time change. I think it felt appropriate.
I thought it was fine. I think it could have made a bigger deal, but we'll have plenty of time to make a bigger deal out of it in the days to come, so don't worry. Away for Monday, but I'll be back on the air from Washington on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Thanks, everybody who supports us. Truly, from my heart, I appreciate it. Really great
I'm
to
Shadow Stevens
visit
for the
with
Mark
you all.
Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Have a good weekend, all. And until next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.